In a world where Maitland McDonough, First Lady of Horror, speaks, and you have a front row seat. This is Maitland on Movies, horror double feature.
He experiences terror when he dreams? I'm jealous. I've never gotten to dream. So, Maitland, what did you see this week?
Well, this week I saw a movie called Dream Eater, which unfortunately triggers the song Dream Weaver in my head every time I look at it or see it. But this is nothing like what a Dream Weaver movie would be like. Dream Eater is a pretty scary concept. I mean, that is like a parasite in your brain, right? That's what I thought of first and foremost. And also, if you know anything about the importance of dreams, you know that you don't want something taking them away from you, because dreams are where your mind works on stuff while you're asleep. So you're not consciously dealing with everything you have to deal with every day, from, oh my God, the cat threw up on the floor, to need to get to the post office and mail this thing or pay that bill. You know, we have a lot of stuff going on every day, most of us. And a lot of our consciousness is just taken up by all the things we have to do from the moment we get up in the morning until we get to go to sleep at night. Dreams are where your mind just gets to hang out and free associate. And clearly different people have different kinds of dreams. There are people who claim they never remember their dreams, and I find that kind of odd. Where are you on that?
I don't really technically sleep. I've had 2 sleep studies where the sleep researcher basically looked at me and went, "What you do does not class as what human beings call sleep."
What does it class as?
Well, he took an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and held it up in front of me, and a bunch of spikes all up and down it. He says, "Every spike is when you stopped breathing." And I said, "That's a lot for the night." He said, "Mr. Baruch, this is a minute and a half."
Wow.
Yeah. So he couldn't prove I hit REM. I do remember some dreams, but we can't prove I have any. How about you? How do you sleep?
On the whole, I sleep pretty well, and I mostly remember a scrap of the last dream right before I wake up. Whatever else was going on for however many hours they were going on for, they're probably stashed someplace. Because isn't that what human brains do, is they just take it all in, whether you like it or not. It's the good, the bad, the ugly. All goes through there and gets put someplace. But yeah, mostly I only remember that last little bit of the last little dream as I was coming out of the dream state. So yeah, if I tried to keep a dream diary, I could take a little notebook and have it for the rest of my life and probably not fill it up. So that's where I go on that. But the plus of that is, if I'm having terrible, awful dreams, I'm not remembering them. So
there you go.
It's all good. And if I were having these terrible, awful dreams, maybe that was my brain just getting them out, shoveling them off someplace.
No, I make use of the fact that I don't really sleep. I just finished a complete novella in 9 days, and it's already through edits. Yeah.
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 Well, so you're very productive.
Let's see what the audience, the readers, actually think of it, but I would like to think so, yes.
Well, audience approval is one part of it, but just getting it done is another. I mean, look at these people that we all know, one of them, who have been trying to write that novel since we first met them 3 decades ago.
Yep.
And clearly their minds are not really in that game in one way or another. And yet they still have, that file on their laptop. Yep. Or if they started it long enough ago, they also have some notebooks filled with notes.
Yeah, it's a muscle. You have to build it up.
Yeah, like everything else. Use it or lose it, right?
Yeah. So back around to this movie. What did they decide to do with their Dream Eaters?
Well, first of all, they're not really talking about their dream eaters yet. This is a couple who are having some marital problems, but particularly because the husband has terrible, terrible, terrible nightmares. And it's putting a stress on them. And so basically, they're supposed to go away, first of all, have a real vacation. So they go to a cabin in the woods, and we know how well that generally works out. A cabin in the woods in Canada, snow everywhere. So on the one hand, yeah, there's not a lot there to distract them. On the other hand, they're in a house by themselves with all their problems and not really any place to go or anything to do to get rid of them.
But the monster's a little nice because it's Canada, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they are nice, but they are having problems for sure. Yeah. And one of the things that their therapist has said that they need to do is they need to document the fact that the husband is a sleepwalker and a sleep talker. And allowing him to look at that might give him into some insights into what it is that's roiling around in his brain that he does not want to deal with. Because that's, that fuels some nightmares. Stuff you don't want to talk about, the stuff that is so emotionally painful that you don't even want to think about it. But one of the wonderful, horrible things about the human brain is it hangs on to stuff.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, and you can keep pushing it to the back, but it's like a closet. At a certain point, it's too full for you to hide all that stuff in the back, and then stuff starts tumbling out. So that's maybe one of the reasons that being in a cabin in the woods and trying to work out why you have horrible, horrible dreams might not be the best solution.
Yes.
On the other hand, this couple has been together for a while, so they've tried other things too, and those things are not working. Okay, so that's kind of the crux. Nightmares, and really, really terrible nightmares. And he does allude at one point to the morning that he woke up in a pool of his own piss and blood. So
it would have been worse if it was somebody else's, but okay.
Who knows?
Psychological terror? Is there a monster in here? What kind of horror are we looking at?
Well, there's definitely a monster in here, but it is a monster of the mind, first and foremost. And as some of us know from experience, and some of us have just heard and figure, let's try not to experience that. Monsters of the mind are the worst because they're in your head, and they grew in there because of things that you probably didn't want to deal with. So you tried to shove them into the back. And there's only so much room in the back before stuff.
When you run away, you take them with you, which is why he doesn't escape them by going to them. Yes.
Exactly. Because you can run away from pretty much anything except what's in your own head.
Yeah.
That is just going to follow you every place. So it's a horror movie. It is definitely first and foremost a psychological horror movie, but it has some other shades to it. And this is one of those movies where you really do feel, I don't want to talk too extensively about it because it unfolds really beautifully. It's one of those movies that gives you enough information that you want to keep watching, but not enough that you know precisely what to expect.
Gotcha.
And that's a threading the needle thing, because if you don't give people enough at a certain point, particularly if they're not in a theater where they paid $18 to go in and see it, they might just say, you know what, had enough of this. Mostly
I'm sorry.
No,
I feel compelled to tell the audience that is not my face in the background. That is from the movie. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, fortunately, we don't see too much of that in the background. But yeah, there are a lot of very scary things going on in this movie, and it walks there's that very fine line between I'm showing you a lot of disturbing things and I'm making it hard for you to be absolutely clear on what is actually happening and what is simply a manifestation of psychological issues that have been undealt with for rather too long, and now you can only fill up so much of your brain with that stuff before it starts running out your ears or wherever it's coming out of, and becomes a clear and present problem with which you need to deal. This kind of story is a really hard story to tell because that line between giving people just enough and giving them too much is a very, very thin one. You want them to keep watching, so you can't spill all the secrets early on. But you also don't want them to sit there thinking, okay, I've just spent 35 minutes watching this movie, and what in the hidey-ho is going on here?
So how do they dance the line in this one? This is a good piece of work?
I think it's actually a very good piece of work because this is, as I just said, the kind of story where people can easily get fed up with it and just say, okay, I thought I was coming to see a horror movie, and it is a horror movie, but the demons and monsters here are fundamentally demons of the mind. And although I think that a lot of us would like to think that we're empathetic people, I think also a lot of us feel like, you know what, I got my own demons, and I'm not sure how much I want to hear about yours because I only have so much bandwidth for it. And often that's just an evasive tactic because you probably do have enough bandwidth for it. You just don't want to deal with it, especially if it's somebody that you've been hearing it from for a long time, which almost always means family members of one kind or another, immediate family, spouses of family, children of family. At a certain point, children of family are plenty old enough to have those problems too. So one of the reasons that I came away from this movie with really positive feelings was at the end of it, I thought, okay, that balancing act was pulled off really beautifully. There was never a moment in this movie where I thought, oh, for God's sake, get on with it. I'm tired of all that snow, lots and lots of snow.
And you also didn't feel like you were being hit over the head with a hammer with the obviousness of anything.
I did not feel that I was being hit over the head with a hammer. So those are two things you don't want. You don't want to feel like, okay, you just told me everything. Can I go now?
Yep.
If I have it on, a medium where I can do this, can I just fast forward to the end, please? and just see, does it end in a bloodbath? Does it end in a reconciliation? Does it end with two people just sitting and looking at each other and thinking, where do we go from here? Which is not always satisfactory way to end a story, but sometimes it is the way a story has to end.
Yes.
With you and these people and thinking, what next?
Absolutely. So it sounds like this is a good piece of work. And
I think it's a good piece of work. It's well acted. It's well thought out. It managed to surprise me a couple of times.
That takes a lot. You've seen a lot of movies.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of movies over the years. And, I've been at it for a long time. And as I've said, I think in other podcasts we've done, when I was working for TVI.com as their senior movies editor, I was doing easily 6 movies a week.
Yep.
So you add that up, and that adds up to a lot of movies really fast.
Yeah.
And some of them are good, some of them are not good, some of them fall someplace in between, but you've got to process them all and have them to the copy desk in time that, they
and keep track of which one was which.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And I say that as somebody who would never say that I regret all those years that I spent reviewing all those movies, because, yeah, it was a great experience. I saw a lot of movies.
Yeah.
I was also at an internet startup at a time when a lot of your job was defining what it was you were doing.
Yep.
And that was for everybody, from the tech people to the editorial people. It was all, how do we do this thing? This was like 1994, I think.
Yep.
That was a long time ago. And everybody did not get this internet thing yet. And a lot of people were poo-pooing it and saying, oh, nobody wants that. They want to read a newspaper on the subway in the morning. You know, they want physical media. They don't want to log in.
Right, but you know, now we do know the internet was just a fad and it was gone in a couple of years. I mean, when was the last time you heard a modem song? When's the last time you heard dial-up noises? Clearly no one's using this stuff.
You know, I can hear that in my head, though.
Yeah.
I can hear that whine so clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, it was a very formative time. So everything about it is really vivid. I think I might have said in another of these podcasts, I remember having to write in the italic and bold bracketed B's and I's / right? Because otherwise they didn't, you know, you couldn't italicize things or boldface things.
Yeah.
I had to write in the indents at the beginning of paragraphs.
Oh, no, I know. In 1988, I was on a service called Q-Link, which eventually became America Online, and I was teaching creative writing at 1,200 baud at, I think it was 5 or 8 cents a minute people were paying to attend my class. Yeah, at dial-up speeds. And I'm trying to explain this to people, and this is before the internet was generally available to anyone outside of academia and the military. And this is a private network. It wasn't yet on the internet. And like, you're online. What does that mean? Online means standing behind somebody heading into the bakery. What are you talking about? Why are these words these words? This doesn't make any sense. It was like, I'm teaching creative writing in a room that doesn't exist. That's the way you do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember the Wild West days. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Then they were wild and they were fun and they were freaking nightmare sometimes. Oh yeah. You know, nothing like having your connection fail. Lots of that. I didn't get that so much at work because I was at work and it was not me on my laptop because we didn't have them.
Oh, no. We were a 2-modem family at that point. We were the few people we knew that had 2 landlines because you had to have a landline to get to any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, it was all really crazy. We just drifted a little way from Dream Eater. But, again, a movie that I definitely suggest you take a look at if you are somebody who likes, I was going to say a slow burn, but when you're in the middle of snow and ice, slow burn doesn't quite sound right. But that is exactly what this movie is. Yeah. It's a movie that very much leans into what is clearly a personal relationship, attempting to deal with it rather than say, you know, done. Let's just call it quits. And something scarier than that, although that can be very scary too.
Absolutely can.
Yeah, personal relationships can look, they take up a lot of bandwidth, and then when you have scary stuff going on at the same time, now there's a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
I also have to just praise the performances in this movie because they are very naturalistic without looking as though somebody's going all naturalistic. You just believe these are people under a lot of stress, and this is the stress manifesting itself in various ways in the middle of this endless sea of white. It's just snow and snow and more snow. Although, of course, you know, some of that snow does wind up red. But because, come on, you have to deliver something. You can't just tease people with psychological horror at a certain point.
Yeah.
No matter how good the psychological horror, most people who are real fans of the genre want to see something with a little bit of punch to it.
But despite that, this delivers because it dances the line so well.
Yes, it does. It's a tightrope walk, and it manages to walk it.
I am there for those tightrope walks. So thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, everybody.
On behalf of Maitland McDonough and myself, Charles Baruch. We wish you nothing but happy dreams.